Hi, welcome to another episode of the Pyramid Show. Last week we began our discussion on mortgage, and today we are going to finalize it. Today we are looking at the many mortgage options that you could look at, that is financing it, and we have the expert in the studio to help us with this discussion. We take a break, the show is back after this. Welcome back. My name is Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah, and as earlier said, today we continue our discussion on mortgage, and we are looking at that is the many mortgage financing options we can have. And my guest in the studio from last week is none other Nelly Wendy Sepon, and she is head specialized lending, asset, and mortgage finance from Stanbic Bank. Wendy, thank you for joining us. Please give us a quick briefing of our discussion last week, and we take it from there.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So last week we spoke about how easy we can make mortgage for anybody who wants to own a house, basically for residential purposes or even to put it down for investment. And today we are here to discuss the various options that most banks in Ghana, particularly Stanbic Bank, has for anyone who so wishes to take a mortgage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. With the procedure, I believe that once an applicant comes to your desk, there are many things you would want to advise them, going forward with the mortgage. And that is what we want to hear. To begin with the application forms, and from there, what you ask from them, because I'm sure you'll be asking for documents before you look at a lot of things, then you agree on something with them. So how is it like? Do we buy a form? Do we pay a fee? That arrangement.
Spot on. So the mortgage process starts with the individual. One, making up your mind that you're ready to buy a home through mortgage, either from a bank or non-bank financial institution, particularly with the mortgage houses now offering mortgages. So for you as an individual, as the person or the applicant, you sit down and analyze, how much do I earn at the end of the month? How much am I ready to commit to as mortgage repayments or repayment towards the property I'm getting? Then once you make this decision, you can decide to shop around yourself and identify some properties that you like, or you can come to the bank, because the bank also has some approved list of dealership or vendors that we can introduce you to. So once you come to the bank, either you've already selected your developer or the house that you want us to finance. You come in, we sit down with you to understand your finances. Mind you, the individual earns something, whether from working for him or herself or working for somebody, and by way receiving salary at the end of the month. So you need to understand the individual's finances in general. So we look at what comes to the individual at the end of the month and what goes out, so that you're able to tell how much you as a bank you can comfortably take as mortgage repayments or repayments towards the facility the individual is coming to you for. So we avail, once we do this, we avail our requirements. We just don't give out the requirements. We walk the applicant through the requirements. Very importantly, for the individual to understand every document, the reason why we are requesting for particular documents. So ideally, we have an application form we want the individual to complete for us. Basically, it starts with giving us your personal bio data. So you're asking your name and the rest.
So all about that.
Yeah.
But then I'm paying more attention to the documentations that will come afterwards. I'm looking at probably the said property the individual has identified. You would want to probably have a look-see at it, visit the project or maybe the property, or in other cases, the investigations you do. And if all things being right, what happens from there? I mean, is there a down payment the person has to do from there? At what point of the procedure do you issue the keys to the said property?
So once we have actually sought for the documents that we need to process the application. We need to know the house. The reason why we're asking for those documents is we need to confirm a lot of things before we agree to advance the mortgage.
You want to mention some of the few documents you asked for?
Sure. So we're asking for salaried individuals, we need proof of salary. So for most employers, they give out a pay slip. The reason why one may ask, why are you asking for pay slip? Because the individual banks with you. You see the salary come through on a month-on-month basis. We need to understand, because on a month-on-month basis, for most of the individuals, there's some variations in the amount received as their net salary. But the pay slip will give a line-by-line narration of everything that goes into that individual. We need to know which ones are very regular, which ones are very consistent on a monthly basis, so that as we are calculating our mortgage repayment, we know what truly comes to the individual, as in the individual actual monthly net. That's what we're sourcing for the 3 months pay slip. And ideally, we ask for the last 3 months. So taking the month of March into consideration, that we're asking for December, January, February, because March has not ended. We also ask for the last 6 months bank statement. So if you're an existing customer of Stanbic or of any bank, obviously we bank with us, so we don't need your bank statement. But if you're new to bank, we need to also tell how your income turns around by looking at your bank statement. That's why most often we say that we get approached by a lot of customers that say, we have the money. If the money is under your bed, we'll not be able to support. But once the monies are banked, we'll be able to help you. So we're asking for your bank statement. We need to understand what sort of employment you're in. So if you're a salaried worker, we need some introductory letter from your employer. We make it easy for the customer. So we have a draft that your employer will complete, basically telling us what you do, how long you've been in employment, and again, confirming your salary for us. All these documentations you're sourcing, we also do our vetting. So we do our checks once we receive those documents as well.
Yes. Yeah. Now let's talk about the property identified. Either you are giving him probably the property, or the applicant has gone to look at his or her property. What are some of the investigations you would do to ascertain, that the said property indeed wouldn't give trouble later?
Absolutely. So one, we need to know what property we are financing. We need to know who we are financing from. So it's not enough to just present a sheet of paper that says, this is a 3-bedroom semi-detached property you want us to finance for you. So we're asking for an offer letter from whoever you're buying it from, being it a developer or an individual seller. We're asking for the offer letter. The offer letter should actually detail the property type, the specification, location, and finally the price. It's not enough to just pick an offer letter. We also need to cite the sale and purchase agreement between the customer and the developer to understand, has there been any monies advanced to the developer already that we need to take out from the amount we are actually financing. Based on the offer letter and the sale and purchase agreement, we go ahead and inspect the property. So we do a lot of investigation. One is the developer is not on our approved list of vendors or approved list of developers. We do our background check on the developer or the seller. Again, we require the land title document to also confirm the original owner of the property. And this is to say that for all the properties you're financing, we need to ensure that there's title before we finance. If the process has started, we need to confirm, and we also have our checks with the Lands Commission where the process is at every point of the process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So you made it emphatically clear that for untitled, properties, you don't take them in.
We don't, and the reason is that for our mortgage facilities, we don't take additional collateral. The property we're financing in itself becomes the security for the facility. So we need to be comfortable around the fact. In Stanbic Bank, we have another product called unsecured. And for the unsecured, most people will say, oh, why don't you go and take the unsecured loan to go and buy the house? The unsecured, the amount is capped, and it will not be enough for you to buy your property. So because we are actually offering a secured facility, we need to be comfortable that the title is perfected. Yeah.
Okay, so they have to be sure that your property you intend to acquire wouldn't give you trouble later. At this moment, we take a break. The show returns shortly. Welcome back to your #1 tele-construction guide show. Today we are looking at the mortgage financing options that we can have so that once taking one, we know clearly the direction to go. And as mentioned earlier, Wendy is joining us from Stanbic Bank. She has, a lot of experience and she's been practicing this for over a decade. Wendy, so you spoke to me about, the independent investigations you conduct on these properties. And you also mentioned that you have a pool of developers and you would want to consider if this said seller is within the pool. Any reason for that?
The reason is very simple. Yes. We've done business in the past and after we've paid monies to these developers, issues come up and you can't find them. It becomes a big problem. And as I said, for the facility we're offering, the property becomes the security. So we have to be sure that we're comfortable with the developers. And again, for most of our customers that don't live in the country, they leave the
diaspora.
Exactly. They leave the choice or the responsibility of supervising the project to us. So it's important that we're very confident and we are very sure of the developer we're working with. Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned of the people in the diaspora. That brings me to this question. Is their procedure or their documentation requirement from them, is it different from those typically here in Ghana?
Absolutely no. So in terms of documentation, it's the same thing right from completion of application and the other additional documents we request from anyone. It's practically the same, just that for persons in the diaspora, we need them to notarize their documents. So we're asking that they find a notary public to notarize the documents before they send it to us. Ideally, they are notarizing the personal documents. So you find a notary public, you submit the bulk documents, and they do it for you. Obviously, at a fee, and if individuals want us to assist with a notary public close to them, yes, that's the journey we go on with. So we assist them with the notary public we've worked with in the past, and they actually help them on that. So in terms of requirements, we are not biased. Whether you are here or you outside, it's the same thing, just that for persons in the diaspora, they had to notarize their documents.
Okay. Yeah. Last week, we had one caller calling to the show. And his question, he was talking about he being in Accra and wanting to take a project within the northern region. That brings me to this, the location. What do you have to say?
Thank you. So in terms of location or where a property needs to be before we can say we want to assist or finance the property, it's not a problem. One, we look at the marketability of our property. In case, and I always say in case, because in terms of default, we don't anticipate defaults, but we're looking at when it so happens, will it be easy for us to dispose of after we foreclose the said property. So in terms of location, we are very open to say we are ready to finance anywhere in the country. And our mortgages are for properties in Ghana. So if you're outside, you're buying the property in Ghana. But we want to be sure that wherever the property is, there's no litigation and the title has been perfected.
And the title has been perfected. Interesting one. Talking about title, one would want to know, in the instances where probably the developer is, in motion, probably they've already presented their documents at the Land Commission, the transfer is ongoing, yet your applicant wants to secure the property. What happens?
So we will go ahead, one, we will engage the developer and get to know where exactly or which stage exactly it is at the Lands Commission. We also have legal people who also deals with the Lands Commission and they will follow up to confirm for it. But ideally, we prefer that the documents are perfect, so you will get the final document. And that is for we need to make sure that whoever is selling it has the title. But in terms of title transfer to us or to the customer, where they note the bank as we financing for the mortgage, you just need to make that payment. We make payments at the Lands Commission and we'll go ahead and disburse. We take over until the title or our name is noted on the title. Yeah. So for you that the individual is buying from, we need to be comfortable that in terms of the title, it's been perfected, but once it needs to be transferred, the bank takes over and we can go ahead with that. We don't expect that we complete it. We just conclude the mortgage, pay the developer or the seller, and the banks take over in terms of the title transfer.
So far with all you've said, I'm gathering to, critical documents you don't play with. That is the payslip. Then you're also considering that is the title of the property. Any other document you pay attention to that we've not spoken about? So
with respect to the pay slip, obviously it's the salaried individuals that we may get pay slips from. For us in Stanbic, and I know for most of the financial institutions, they also support self-employed individuals. Self-employed individuals may not necessarily pay themselves something we will call salary. So for such individuals, we're looking at about 6 or a year statements where we run the turnover of income to ascertain the net credit turnover. That amount we get is what we are using to approve the facility for them. So apart from the salaried workers giving us their pay slips, and for the non-Stanbic customers giving us their bank statement. And the good thing about it is that for Stanbic Bank, you don't need to have a banking history. So if you're saving with Bank A, we're not saying that come and save with us or come and bank with us for a month, 3, 6, or even a year. Once you're able to give us history from wherever you're currently banking with, we're able to support you. So apart from that, I mentioned the fact that we also need the confirmation. So for non-salaried individuals or for self-employed, we need to understand the business you're in. Therefore, you need to give us your company registration documents. It becomes very difficult if businesses are not registered. And as a matter of fact, we are unable to also know the source of your income. So ideally,
businesses should be registered.
Businesses should be registered, and sole proprietorship again should be registered. And as I said, we do our background checks once you give us these documents. Yeah.
Okay. So at what point do you give, you hand over the keys, you're like, okay, we've secured it for you, go and live in?
Okay, so once you give us the title documents and we run the search and we are okay with the search results, the documents that we have sourced, we now sit down and assess it. So once you go through our credit process and we make a yay or nay decision. So once you're making a yay decision, the process continues. But if it's a no, we call you and let you know the reason why your application has been declined. But once the application gets approved, our regulator, Bank of Ghana, requires that we issue the pre-agreement. The pre-agreement simply summarizes the details of the facility, how much we have approved, the pricing, the duration, amongst others. So once we issue your pre-agreement, you're comfortable, you acknowledge it, and return that document to us. We issue you what we call the facility letter that will give you the details of everything. And once you are comfortable with that, you sign, you return to us. The upfront fees involved, you make payments. And once you make payments, we get in contact with your developer. So once your developer makes us aware the property is ready, our team goes in to inspect, and it's not just the bankers that go in to inspect, our professionals. So we're doing the valuation amongst others to ascertain that whatever amounts that was quoted on the offer letter, the property, it's the same or even more, so that we can go ahead and make payments to the developer or the seller. Most often the question people ask is, do I need to repay the facility in full before I move in? The answer is no. Once we
but there's a down payment.
Obviously, there's a down payment. We don't
and you can't escape that. No matter what, you have to make it down payment.
There are times we've gone back to the table to give concession around that. And for us to be comfortable to say, for this particular applicant, we are doing 100% financing, your risk grading needs to be good, and we need to be comfortable with such a customer.
Wow.
Yes.
I see. Earlier on you mentioned, you were talking about trying to explain those on pay slips and those who are, entrepreneurs having their income come to themselves. Who are your target audience? Thank
you. So as I mentioned last week, any gainfully employed individual can apply for a mortgage from us in Stanbic or any bank. But the most important things, or what the individual needs to know, is that your income, your salary, your remuneration qualifies you for a specific amount. So if you are in any gainful employment, and I say gainful, but I need to qualify it again, it needs to be very legitimate. You cannot just be in your house and doing any deals and you think we can approve. That is why we confirm the sort of, or your source of income. So it's very much important to let us know your source of income. If you have an employer, yes, we get in a letter from your employer. If you are doing your own business, we also get to know what you're doing. But once something is coming in to you, we are able to approve a specific amount for you.
So be part of the show by visiting us on Twitter. The name is the Pyramid_Show on Twitter. The Pyramid_Show on Twitter. Let us know your concerns, your thoughts, and we shall gladly be reading them. You're still watching the Pyramid Show. We take a break. We return with the interactive segment. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Next is the interactive segment with Audrey Dushikafui.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So today, for our topic for the day is on mortgage. What are your experiences with mortgage? If you haven't gone in for a mortgage, I'm sure you've heard stories about it. Share with us on Twitter at the Pyramid_Show. And with mortgage, you don't really have to make full payments. You just make a down payment, you move in your house, then you pay in bits and in turns. So with our first comment for the day, it's coming from Kojo Asaribediako. And Kojo is saying, kudos to the organizers of this show. Land title certificates are issued in some areas in Ghana, whereas most areas issue a deed of assignment. Does Stanbic Bank accept either of these documents for mortgage processes? I'm sure Wendy will address your question. And next one is from MK7. I have not taken a mortgage yet. It is something I have thought about, but the many Hunhudian stories I have heard about mortgage challenges scares the daylight out of me. Miss Wendy, please explain to me how mortgage is the safest option to home ownership in Ghana. So next comment from Karia Jibril. What are the basic risks in mortgage financing in Ghana for the borrower? So Adepa is saying, you look lovely, my dear Audrey. Keep the good work up. Thank you. Help us send a message to the government to do something about rent issues in this country, because not all of us can buy or build a house vehicle. I'm sure Adepa, we will address your comments on our topic. So that will be all for the interactive segment. Keep sending in your comments on Twitter at the Pyramid_Show. And please stay tuned and listen to the responses to your questions.
Thank you so much, Audrey. And let me take on Adepa saying that on the matter of rent, and I promise you in the coming weeks, we are going to have an extensive discussion on the rent, and you can trust us to always bring you the brightest minds on these subjects. Let me come back to you, Wendy. A few you want to address before we return back to our discussion.
Thank you very much, Audrey and Emmanuel. So the first concern was from Kojo. Yeah. Kojo wanted to know, there's some places that they can get the land title, there's some places they have the deed. Either of them, we sit down with you and understand. There's some places that there are litigation, so we don't want to go. There's some places where there are reasons why we cannot get the title. We need to understand. If you're able to do it, we will let you know. If you're not, we make you understand why we are unable to do. And for any reason, once you want us to finance for you for a particular location and it is okay for us and for you, we will do it. One thing that the one comfort we want to give our customers is that We asking for land title documents, we asking that these documents are perfected. It's for our good, but it's for their good as well. How will you feel once you've finished paying for a property and somebody comes in and says, the land that the property is being developed on, it's actually not for the person you thought it was for, because of that we're going to court, you go to court and they come and eject you and all that. So for all these checks that we do, it's actually for the comfort of our customers. So we plead that they understand and walk this journey with us. Yeah. The second question came from MK7, if I got your name right. MK wanted to find out how safe mortgages are. As I spoke about last week, mortgage sounds a very big word. One thing that most people are not aware of is that the rent you're paying, as I mentioned last week, the rent you're paying to your landlord, your landlady, come or go and speak to a financial house or a finance house, a mortgage house, and let's see if they can support you get a house. You don't need to get that big house. You don't need to. So people have dreams.
Yes.
We want to live at cantonment in that 7-bedroom house. Currently, my salary cannot afford that. So just start with what your money can afford. Go talk to the bank. The bank will help you find a house that fits your budget and it will make it safe. The challenge is that it becomes unsafe if you are unable to pay and the bank or the finance house has to come in and foreclose. But if you pick what fits your budget, if you pick what fits your pocket, it becomes very easy for you. The very last one came from Adepa. Adepa, the government is obviously doing something about rent. But because I'm here today to talk about mortgages, I'm very much sure that you have not heard about the government of Ghana affordable scheme. So the government has again come in to make home ownership very easy, and easy is very relative, very affordable. Let me use the word affordable. So again, speak to Stanbic Bank and we will walk you through that scheme, and you will know that definitely government is coming on some subsidy, and some banks in Ghana are the ones always also giving out these sorts of mortgages.
Okay.
Yeah.
You made us understand some people have wild dreams, and Amegaiba will tell you people dream 1 minute they are dreaming. That is no dreaming. I mean, you should be realistic with your dreaming, not the cantonment homes when you know.
Spot on.
Yeah, you just know that. But then again, that brings us to this question: the many mortgage financing options we have. That is, can you tell us? There are quite a number of them out there, and looking at the monies individuals receive, I would want you to help us identify which of these do we qualify for.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So in Stanbic Bank, we have about 6 options. In general, there are about 7 mortgage options, but the 6 options available if you approach most of the banks. The very first one is the home purchase. So someone identifies a completed property, a completed house, and comes to the bank and say, there's this turnkey property I want you to finance for me. So in this option, the property is already completed. Everything is ready. So once we are paying the developer or the seller, the individual or the applicant is ready to move in. That's the very first one, and the most ideal for most of the banks, because you just go and do your inspection, you do your evaluation, and you pay the vendor, the individual just moves in. The second option is the equity release. With the equity release, the individual already owns the property. So the property in question is already owned by the individual. And when we're talking about ownership, that is where land title certificate comes in. So it is already in your name and you want the bank to give you cash. So we are looking at what is the value of this property that you already owe, and how much can we give you? So we do the valuation, and we are looking at giving about 70 to 90% of the value of that existing property that belongs to you. So most people who have need for cash, either to pump it into their business or to go into other things, they opt for this one. So more or less, you want to go for a term loan, you want to go for an unsecured loan, but the unsecured loan or the term loans, they are capped. So you want to use your existing property as security. That is what we term as the equity release. There's also the construction finance, or developer construction. It's just the terms that are different. So you may go to one bank, it's construction finance, another is developer construction. These are ongoing projects. So there's a project that has started. Okay. The person needs some support financially to complete that project, or there's a project that's about to start. So not necessarily the project or the property has to be completed. If you thought of or you dreamt of that beautiful house you want to put up, you haven't started, you can come to the bank and we'll help you with it. What we normally do is that we want to appoint a developer. If you don't want us to appoint and you have your developer, we sit down with your developer and walk them through the process, the expectation and the rest. We are sourcing for the building permits because a property that's about to start, you are sourcing for the bill of quantities, the architectural drawings, and our specialists in-house will vet these documents before we give you the go-ahead. What we do with this type of financing is we are not disbursing the full 100% after approval, unlike the turnkey property or the home purchase one I spoke about. For this one, we are actually going to disburse in tranches. So you're building, for instance, from grounds to foundation, the bank comes in and value and pay. Foundation to lintel, we come in and pay. Then at completion, we pay the final tranche. But depending on the stage at which we will pay, we will sit down with you and your developer to make it very comfortable for you. But as I said, we are not giving you the 100% approved amount for you to just go and work with. Once you build, we value and we pay. You build, we value and pay. And we do. Ideally, we are looking at doing 3 tranche disbursements for you. The fourth option is the home improvements. Again, there's an existing property and you want to do, so let's say it's a 2-bedroom house, you want to make a 3, 4, or 5, that is you enhance or you're adding more rooms to it, or you want to do renovation, or you've seen a new design, you want to remodel your house and you need some support. Again, we come to you and help you. So the property is already there, it belongs to you. In terms of title, it's perfected, we come in and we help you. Again, it's similar to the construction finance. We need to know the architect or the person to be working on for you. We sit down and let them know the bank's processes and we support you on that. So they are costing it, letting the bank know how much the total work will cost, and we approve that amount for you and they will be helping you on that. The other one is
that's the fifth.
The fifth, yes. Yeah. It's the takeover. Most people call takeover. So you have your existing facility with a finance house, a bank. For 1 or 2 reasons, you're not happy with how they've handled your mortgage for you, or for some reason, Stanbic is the best. You're giving you the good options. They're giving you other benefits that you feel that you prefer over your current lender, and for that matter, you want us to take over your mortgage. Obviously, we need to give you a good reason to move it from one finance house to us.
And that's possible.
Very much possible. So we are asking for your current exposure, that is your loan balance, and we are taking over. The good thing about this particular option is, let's say you've taken the mortgage, you took it in 2020, and we're in 2023. So obviously you paid about 2 years, and as a property, it doesn't depreciate. It's been maintained, and the value has shot up. So we are either financing the property, we're looking at the property to finance for you. So let's say the property, you did the loan at 200,000 Ghana cedi. Let me use Ghana cedi. 200,000 Ghana cedi. If we should do valuation today, the property is about 550,000 Ghana cedi. But your loan exposure, you took it at 200,000, but you've paid down 2.5 years, so you are about 180,000. We are only not financing 180,000 for you, but we are looking at the new valuation and financing a portion of it for you. Then we use the 180 to pay off your exposure from the finance house, and we bring the mortgage, and the remaining amounts can be given to you. You use it to get a small apartment and rent house, or you use it to do whatever you want to do with it. A sixth option, and that's one option that a lot more people are opting for lately. They are not ready to develop. They don't have the financial muscle to develop. Many reasons. It's the vacant land financing. So we are not just financing the land on the houses, or we are not just asking that you put up a building, but if it's the land you have seen and you want us to finance, and in the near future you develop, we come in, we finance the land for you. We just don't finance and leave you hanging there. We sit down with you again to know your development plans in the future. So it's time, when it's time to develop, we can again come in and help you until we make sure that the house is fully there and it's habitable. So all the options we're ready to go by. There are many options that customers may come in and want us to look at. What I'm saying is that with these 6 options, yes, we're not saying that you have to fall under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. If there are any other, or if your situation is very different, come, let's sit around the table, let's discuss it, and we'll find a solution to it for you.
Okay, yeah. So what is full tenure? That confuses a lot of people. In other words, that is the long-term, short-term. As a layperson, that's how I'm going to put it.
Sure. So the tenure is basically duration. Okay. So how long are we granting the facility for? Our full duration, our full tenure is 20 years. But it's tied to, for the salaried individuals, it's tied to their remaining years to retirement. And for self-employed, we use that discretion to say, for this person that is 45 years, let me do 10 years, 15 years. And this actually, we affirm that after we have assessed you and say that you're self-employed, you owe your business, you're not going to retire, but it makes sense to do the 20 years, let's do 20. For this particular self-employed individual, let's do 10. For the other, let's do 15. But for salaried individuals, it's tied to your remaining years to retirement. In Ghana, the mandatory retirement age is 60. Elsewhere, you see 63, 65, 67. So for our diaspora customers, it's not 60. Wherever they are, some go beyond the 60. But we are looking at the country where you work or you reside, the mandatory retirement age, and we tie your facility to it. So currently for individuals living and working in Ghana, anybody that is 40, 39 years and below, we are able to do the full 20 years. There are instances where individuals will come in and say, after age 60, I still have a consistent source of income, so I want you to extend it more than 20 years. Again, we will sit down and actually agree on how we will do it. Okay. We have seen some customers that we have done more than 20 years for. And as I say, you have to give us a reason to go beyond our regular parameter. Yeah. Okay,
so I'm asking this question on the dollar rate and as to whether it affects, the mortgage we take. But before we do that, let me announce that in a few, we will be opening the phone line and you can call in to also be part of the show. So just in about 2-3 minutes, you can be part of the show by calling in. Wendy, the dollar, rising and coming down.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So last week, I recall a caller had asked why most developers are pricing in dollars. So developers are, by law, we are supposed to price in cedis, but there's a reason why they price in dollar. And you see that for most of them, once you're asking for your offer letter, they are not giving you the dollar. It is because of what is currently happening to the rate. But ideally, our regulator mandates us to structure facilities per how or which currency the individual receives the salary from. So if your salary is in cedi, it makes sense to structure a cedi facility for you. So once we get the invoice, we want to know that the invoice is in Ghana cedi. We're asking you to pay the deposit. The amounts that we finance for you or will amortize is also in cedis, and we'll do that for you. For dollar, pound, euro income earners, particularly for persons in the diaspora, yes, if you're in UK and we're doing the pound facility, if your salary or income is received in dollar, euro, we are equally doing that for you. Your question is more around what happens when the vendor is saying that I have quoted in dollar. For us, once we've done CD facility for our customers, we require that you give us the rate of exchange or you give us the CD value of the property and we pay you as such. For anybody to even receive dollar in Ghana, you need that clearance from Bank of Ghana. And for that matter, we ensure that whatever invoice we are receiving is denominated in the Ghana cedi or the currency at which the individual's income is in. What normally happens is that for the fact that these developers are buying building materials and the rest from outside, they're required to be paid in that currency. Unfortunately, per regulation, we will pay in Ghana cedi. If you're a customer of the bank and you need to do that transfer, at the time of transfer, if you're submitting the necessary documents, you're buying the dollar for you to do whatever you're supposed to. But as I said, the law or our regulator only mandates us to trade in the Ghana cedi, and that's what we do.
Okay, and that's what they do. So at this point, you can call into the show and also let us have your submission. Elon from Dansuman. Hello, Elon from Dansuman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Unfortunately, I can't recall your name, but...
Elon, please raise your voice a bit so we can hear you clearly.
Okay. I can't call your name, but I think I'm okay with your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to question my humble lady.
Go on, Elon.
My salary is 6,000 Ghana cedis, and I'm 33 years. Can I benefit from this? I bank SG anyway.
Okay, so you're 33 years and your salary is 6,000 cedis. She will be answering that. So thank you very much, Elon, on that.
Thank you.
Wendy.
Thank you very much, Elom.
Yes, I wanted us to handle some few questions. I think you're on the subject of the dollar that we can conclude. But in the event where one forfeits, I mean, we are looking at the penalties. I know most of the times brokers don't want to discuss that, but in the event one forfeits, you know, any of these payments, what happens?
Okay.
And what's the best way to recover?
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So when we are approving facilities for individuals, as I said, our interest is not just on the particular facility they've come to us for. We are looking at you as partners and we want to reach a win-win situation. So in approving, we understand how your income is or the job you are into. There are instances where we approve and say, can we keep 1 month repayment in a reserve account for you? So in case your income or your inflow delay, we will move it to pay. This is relationship purely. But in the case where an individual missed the payment, before the repayment date is due, 3 days, there's an alert that goes to you to remind you. Obviously, individuals expect that their employers have paid or whoever they're holding contracts with have paid and the monies are in. We do relationship banking, and as I said, we want to... We are in this with the customer. It's a win-win. So 3 days to the loan repayment date, there's an alert that goes. If the repayment date is due or the day of the repayment, there's no money, the relationship is sending an alert or making a call to you. And once we don't get a response in 5 days, we send the first demand letter. So the demand letter, it's when we say demand letter, most of us get scared. We just want to draw your attention to how much you owe us as in terms of arrears, what your exposure is. Would you want us to restructure? So the demand letter is calling you for us to have a chat. Once this fails and we move to the next 30 days, meaning that your next repayment is also falling due, that is when we send the final demand letter.
Okay, so Wendy, you hold on for me. I'll be coming back to you. From Kumasi, Nicholas. Hello, Nicholas.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hope all is well.
Yes, it is. Your submission.
Wendy has spoken very well. I've listened to you. I've listened to her. In fact, the way she has spoken, the company didn't make a mistake by putting her in this position. But my thing is, as she has spoken nicely, it will get to the time the transaction is taking place. it will be go and come, go and come, go and come. Wendy will not be around to solve problems for us. The way Wendy has spoken, I want to come, and mine is the equity relief. I have a lease. I have a lease on my lease. So if I have a lease and I want them to complete my house for me, how would that be? I want her to tell me how it will be.
Okay, so Wendy, we'll be touching on Elon, but a quick one with what Nicholas just said.
Okay, thank you.
Go and come is what he's telling.
Thank you, sir. Nicholas, thank you very much. So most often, customers they only know the bank's contacts that they deal with. In this case, the relationship manager or the relationship officer. Mm-hmm. What we do well in Stanbic Bank is it is a team. So the relationship person leads the team in terms of the customer communication and the customer engagement. I sit in a typical product unit. So I also have a team that works with the relationship team. So after the relationship person, the relationship officer, there's a relationship assistant, there's a transactional person, then the mortgage consultant. So you see that with the emails we send to our customers, it is not from Wendy to Nicholas, but it's from Wendy to Nicholas, but you see some group listed there or copied in that email, some individuals copied in those emails. It's true sometimes you will call Wendy, you will not get Wendy. For instance, Wendy or your bank's contact is in a meeting. But for us, we are mandated to return calls. And if you walk to any, because as a bank we want to, or we have streamlined our customer service, if you walk to any of our offices, if you walk to any of our shop floors, and even with my email, there's an escalation process. So Wendy has not responded. Wendy's boss is so you are able to
say
do
the go
that
and come
easily.
has a reason to that.
So if there's a go and come, it is because, yes, we asked for 5 documents, you have submitted the 5 documents, but the 5th document, there's a question mark.
There's a question mark.
And what we do well again is we sit down with you to understand that, yes, we said 5 documents, but the one you brought, a part of, so you submitted your document and you see that clearly on the markings, a part of the property falls within somebody else. This one sits with the Lands Commission, and the Lands Commission, we may not have control because they also have the necessary protocol. But what is key for us is communication. Okay. We will let you know why it has delayed. So, Uncle Nicholas, you have the comfort from me.
Okay.
Yes, if it's not Wendy, there's a team, but we'll make sure that we give you joy.
Okay, well said, Nicholas. It means that the go and come has good reasons why. Okay, then also let's visit, that's Elon's question. Yet you can also call into the show, the numbers on your screen, and also let us have your submission on the discussion going on here.
Thank you.
Elon.
So Elon wanted to know, he mentioned he earns an amount of 6,000 and it's 53 years. Elon, I will plead with you, either you call me after the call or you visit any of our branches. The reason I'm saying this is to be able to tell how much you qualify for. It's not just these 2 factors. We want to understand whether you have a loan elsewhere or a lot more of the reasons, so that we'll be able to do the affordability calculation for you. But if you earn 6,000 and you're 53 years, you work in Ghana and your retirement age is 60, what it therefore means is we can only do a facility for you for a maximum period of 7 years. But in terms of how much, I need to know, are there any other loan commitments that goes into this 6,000? That is, if this 6,000, your net after all deduction,
Thank you so
amongst
much, Wendy.
others. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Unfortunately, we have to go onto the phone. We're taking their time. So from Ada, we have Raymond. Raymond.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. And good afternoon to your listeners. Please, I want to know, I'm interested in the loan, but I want to know the qualification, the mortgage. I want to know the qualification and then the number of months you have to be with them before they give you the loan.
Okay.
And then what are some of the necessary documents that will make the loan very fast?
Thank you very much.
If you can clarify that, I'll be very grateful. Thank you.
That will be done. Let me also advise that when you call into the show, please make your submissions brief so that others can also be part of the show. Wendy.
So Raymond, you don't need to have a banking history with us. So if you're already banking with another bank and you want to take our facility, you just have to speak to us. We'll open an account for you, and you will tell your employer that from that moment your salary is channeled to us. The reason why we normally prefer your salary channeled to us is in making that financial decision about you, we need to know how your account performs. And again, it's much easier to do our loan deduction. And again, also that's a lot of benefits you get, not just taking the mortgage, but once you have an account holder, there are lots of benefits that Stanbic will give you. So you don't need to have a transactional history. Just start opening accounts with us, start doing passing your transactions with us. In terms of the requirements, if you're a salaried worker, you're giving us your pay slip, you're giving us your introductory letter from your employer, you're picking your offer letter and sale and purchase agreement, and from your developer side too, you're letting us know whether their property or their house that they built has title. Yeah. Thank
you so much. Wendy, you've spoken to us about, the repayment, the full tenor, but say the journey is supposed to be about 7-8 years, and 4 years down the line, can I choose to pay everything off? Is that allowed? Or, from the start, can I pay the entire thing out?
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. So for what we continue to see, there's two types. So we have customers that, for instance, your monthly repayment is 3,000 Ghana cedi, and for a particular month they have a 20,000 and they want to give it to us. That is what we call a capital reduction. So we are able to do a capital reduction at no penal charge. So your loan exposure or balance is $1 million, and you have about 200,000, you want to reduce that $1 million, we are able to do that for us. The impact of this is once you do a capital reduction, you're supposed to tell us whether we reduce your tenure or we reduce your monthly repayment. That is optional. That is the impact when you do a capital reduction. If you don't want to go the full term and you want to pay off your loan, what we normally ask is that you're paying 3 months interest. Technically, it's the same, because if your loan is running 3 months, you're paying with interest. If you're selling and paying 3 months interest, it's the same. So not actually, I don't call it a penal charge, but it's just a way of you letting us know that you want to settle at this point in time. If you're giving us the 3 months notice, we settle for you. If you want us to settle ASAP, it's the 3 months interest in lieu of the settlement. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask this final question. We have some few minutes to go. And also I'll pick my last caller before I wrap up. If I choose to end the mortgage, what are the consequences with it?
What do you call end?
I mean, like the agreement being about, I have to do the repayment for about 15 years, 11 years. Then middle way, I'm like, no, I just want to quit. I want to drop everything here.
So you want to drop everything by paying the exposure?
No.
Or you don't want to?
I'm just that.
Okay, so.
I mean, it never happens.
So what we say is that the facility is non-cancelable. Non-cancelable is once we amortize, you sign your letter, we amortize, and you start paying, the property is yours. So in case where you don't want to pay again, we'll sit down with you. Do you want us to sell the property, and whatever we get, we used to pay the exposure, and the remaining becomes yours? That is just a discussion we have to sit down with you to have, and we'll make it very easy for you. We are very fair with that, because we are a bank and a commercial bank in this case, and we will just bring in the specialists to come and help us with the sale. And we have partners that support us with this sale. So once we sell, we pay off your exposure, the remaining amount becomes yours. And it's better than you saying, I won't pay again, and you not contacting the bank as well.
Okay, so let me take this question that's coming. It's coming from the man I call the Godfather, and he says, in the event of default through an act of God, what's the treatment for this situation?
So our property, our mortgage or facility, we do 2 types of insurance. We do the property insurance to cover fire and allied perils, and we do the life insurance to cover death and permanent disability. And we are asking that our customers or our beneficiary applicants are doing these 2 insurance. So Acts of God will come under
Okay.
So you are covered once that insurance is placed for you. So it's very much important. And once you're asking the customers to do this insurance, we explain to them the importance of why we are asking them to do the insurance. Most often they say, it's my house, I don't want to do the insurance. You may never know, act of God. And once you're insured, you're covered.
Okay. So before you take leave of us, we are wrapping up very soon. What's your submission, your prayer, and how do you see mortgage acquisition here in Ghana? Do you think more people are embracing it day in, day out, or what's the situation like?
In as much as, and I always say, in as much as mortgage is new, every single day we receive application. We continue to preach the importance and the benefits of mortgage, not just Stanbic, not just all the mortgage houses are preaching it. We are not just selling a product. We have identified a need in society. And as I've been speaking, last week I mentioned it, this week, today I've also said same. The monies that you're giving out as rent is good. If you're not ready for the mortgage, it is rent. But assess yourself. Will I be able to commit to an extended term, an extended duration, and own the property at the end? Or I just want to do the year, 2 years, and renew rent, move ahead, and continue that cycle. Once you are ready to take that mortgage, find a trusted financial solutions advisor or a trusted, reputable finance house. Let them explain the process to you and take a mortgage. The decision to take a mortgage should be now and not tomorrow.
The decision to take a mortgage should be now and not tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be coming your way same time next week. It's been Wendy Nelly Sapon from Stanbic Bank, and you know she's the head specialized for lending. From me and the rest of the team, we say thank you, our highest appreciation. We'll come your way same time next week.